Alrighty, so before we dig into Arena for the day, I want to react to a video that Ven reacted to, where this dude went on the WoW forums and asked WoW PvEers why they don't like PvP, which should be interesting, because I think that's a kind of an interesting idea. I think this is also going to end up being like why maybe casual players don't like doing PvP, or like what are some things that hold WoW players back from PvP, and I think Venruki's been doing a good job sort of finding and addressing a lot of these topics in the WoW PvP scene. And I also like hearing his thoughts on it, because I know he's a passionate guy about WoW PvP, modern WoW PvP in particular. He's been playing for a long time. He's a smart guy, so we're gonna hear what he has to say about this one, and we're gonna probably get a little bit of an idea about what might be holding players back from trying out WoW PvP, even if they're already playing WoW. Right? It's kind of interesting. Here we go.
This is a video called I asked WoW PvEers why they don't like PvP. So maybe we should check out this video.
We should.
I went on Reddit and Blizzard forums and asked WoW PvEers why they don't like PvP. In this video, I list the reasons and think of solutions. So let's check this out.
Alrighty.
Okay, so I went on the Blizzard forums and WoW Reddit.
Like that sword
asked
mog.
PvE players to tell me what they don't like about WoW PvP, and if there are some aspects of PvP that they do like, what are they? I also asked what changes would have to be made.
I'm kind of getting like Mad Season vibes from this guy's video.
PvP.
All right.
And I did this because I feel like the WoW PvP scene is getting smaller and smaller, and personally I really enjoy PvP, so I want to explore the reasons why people don't want to engage in WoW
for a long
PvP
time.
content and try to think of possible solutions to fix these issues.
Okay.
I managed to get over 200 answers from PvE players.
200?
In this video, I'm going to list the issues that
Thanks for the comments on my videos too.
Try to explain
discussing these things. I appreciate reading those a lot. So thanks for watching, guys, and thanks for commenting.
Alienate the current PvP player base, but still manages to make PvP more appealing to players.
How's the volume on that?
Is alright? Really enjoy it.
Okay.
And
let's hear it.
Let's continue on to the video.
I'm down, dude.
After reading all the answers, I can say that the most brought up issues about WoW PvP, which were too many buttons, too much complexity, high barrier to entry, and too much CC.
How many of these do I agree with?
So before I even listen to what Ben says, these things make me think that it's not necessarily WoW PvEers that are responding to this, and it's more like just casual players who aren't playing WoW at a high level, which is fine. That's fine. But you don't really have that many more buttons than PvE. Maybe like if you're honor talents, or like, and then you have like use like targeting macros, maybe it'll increase your buttons. And in terms of complexity, I mean, like if you're playing Mythic rating or Mythic Plus at a high level, I mean, there's mechanics you have to be aware of and avoid. You need to know what like other classes do and how that fits into your comp. So, I mean, I don't know if it's really even that much more button bloaty or complex than high level PvE, which makes me think it's more like to a normal player, like casual player, what's the barrier to entry? But that's still interesting.
Bloat, potentially, yeah. Complexity, potentially, yeah. High barrier to entry. And the grand...
Not necessarily with all the solo content coming, you just literally click the button, but finding people to play with is like my big thing. Like, even though I have like a pretty like good battle tag of people, it still can be tough to like have arena every single time you log in instantly, right? That's tough. And when you do, it's like, oh, this is great, but it's not always like that.
In the scheme of things, the barrier to entry is pretty low right now.
Yeah, you have
but
solo.
I guess just the fact that it's an MMO compared to a different style
a little bit of
game,
gear that you have to get.
Maybe,
so,
but
I don't know.
For PvP and for WoW in general, it's pretty big. Too much CC, that could be an issue too.
Kind of.
I think a lot of these things are like, it seems like a big barrier looking in, but once you actually get started and commit to it, it's really not bad at all. I think that's one of the big things that I kind of consistently talk about, is if you just like commit to the goal, it's really not that bad, but looking in, it can be pretty rough, I guess.
Fall into the same category of over complexity. So I'm going to address these issues as a single topic. A lot of people said that they felt that... Again,
I know I keep stopping, but part of this is like, this is from my perspective as somebody who does enjoy WoW PvP. I don't think I'm like going crazy ham on WoW PvP right now, or I haven't been, but I know I've been doing it for a while. So even though I will sort of counter this, a lot of what I'm saying isn't to say that these people are wrong. I think I'm trying to come from a place of encouragement and say, okay, it looks like this, but you actually got this. Just go ahead and get started and learn as you go and sort of commit to learning and it'll be worth it if you wanted to start doing PvP. I'm not trying to just say no. I'm just trying to say, okay, it might look that way. However, it's really not that bad if you get going. You got this. I'm trying to be encouraging. And it's also just good to hear what people think from have a different perspective than me.
That the overall complexity of PvP gameplay forms such a high barrier to entry that they don't even want to try and learn PvP. Mostly, this is because of the fact that you need to know how all the different specializations work and remember all the different spells they have to efficiently play PvP.
Yeah, but you're gonna figure that out just by playing the game,
allows you
right?
to anticipate how the enemy is going to play and what their weaknesses and strengths are, and play around those to win the fight.
And I've seen some comments being like, well, yeah, bro, you've been playing WoW for 10 years or whatever. It's like, but when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about when I first started playing WoW in Kata, like what it was like for me. And I just started playing the game and learning the game because I wanted to play PvP and I wanted to find people to play with. I wanted to learn by doing. And that was fun for me. So I'm not speaking only from the position of where I am now. I've been playing the game for a long time. I'm talking about like right from the beginning. Like I liked getting my butt kicked, getting gear, getting stronger, and then kicking people's butts. Right from the beginning, not just only now, right? And so, I mean, you just need to not be afraid to try, right?
I would say that most...
That is a big, that's a thing in WoW, right? Like a huge part of learning WoW is learning all the classes, learning all the specs, how they work, how can
But you learn by doing, just like a lot of things, right?
What are their strengths? What are their win conditions?
Learn by doing.
How do you beat them? You know, like,
and there's so much information out there now too.
I've repeated myself a few times. Like, so you could put that as like a weakness, but I also think it's one of the strengths of the game that keeps it interesting.
It is, definitely. You know? Definitely.
People enjoy PvP games and modes that are easy to learn but hard to master. However, in the case of WoW PvP, it is, in my opinion, hard to get into and even harder to master.
Okay.
There are currently 39 specializations
that opinion's
that have between 20 to 40 spells or abilities for different situations. For a player getting into WoW PvP, learning all of these will take a huge amount of time, and until they learn all of this, the combat will probably feel frustrating and confusing.
Yeah.
Like I said in my earlier video, I think that especially the more complex specializations
you don't need to load every single ability though.
More simple, and the overall amount of abilities should be lowered to reduce the amount of knowledge you need to be able to enjoy PvP.
Okay.
When after the pruning of WoD, it was, I think, the least interesting in terms of what classes did. I mean, a lot of the abilities are probably just like rotational stuff. You don't really need to know, oh, the warrior pressed Raging Blow. You might want to know, oh, the warrior pressed Avatar. He's here to do a lot of damage. You see the Fury Warrior, Ravager spinning around. It's like, okay, he's probably trying to do some damage here. Or it's like, oh, he popped Enraged Regen, so that's his big defensive cooldown. We can disarm him to negate that, we can sharpen it to negate that, or we can just get off him for like the next couple seconds and then go back once that defensive's down. So you don't need to know every single ability, but you might need to be aware of like some big offensives, big defensives, have maybe some idea of how frequently they can CC things or be aware of the CC when it hits, but knowing the intricacies is less important than knowing the basics, right? Offensive cooldowns, respond appropriately. Defensive cooldowns, respond appropriately. Healers in CC, respond appropriately, right? And, or like, you know, and that's just like things that you're gonna learn by playing the game, so.
Yeah.
Don't be overwhelmed.
I don't personally mind the amount of abilities that there are in the game, but if reducing the number of spells and combining some of them into a single spell makes more players play PvP.
And in terms of like DR, like that's another thing with CC. It's like, okay, yeah, but if your teammate fears the healer, you don't, or clones the healer, you don't want to go and then use a fear. It's like, that's fine, but you can actually use an add-on called Gladius EX, and you can click on Gladius EX to show all DR within the context of your DRs. So every stun will look like Stormbolt DR on the healer, or every sort of fear and cyclone or whatever will look like Intimidating Shout DR. And that's how I have it set up, which is like, I mean, you don't need to know every single ability's DR if you just use this one add-on, which you probably should be using. Add-ons are another sort of thing that we could probably end up talking about in this video that people bring up, but that does help you recognize how to avoid DRing if you don't know every single ability, right? So there is a lot to learn, I agree, but there's ways to make it more simple as you're learning, right?
I think that is something that Blizzard should definitely do.
What do you guys think, like, just a random, like, what do you guys think is a good amount of spells? Like, how many like, in my personal opinion, I think around 20. Like 20 to 25 is a good amount.
I think the amount of abilities we have right now is actually
a
okay.
good, like a good spot.
Right now, I think it's
every
actually
class
okay.
should strive to have around 20 buttons.
Our rotations are like 4 or 5 buttons, maybe DPS rotation like 4 or 5 buttons.
It doesn't matter. Blizzard won't listen.
Have a couple offensive cooldowns,
well,
have a couple defensive cooldowns, have a couple types of CC. Seems about right.
Yeah.
10?
At least 30? Nah, 30 is too much. I think 20 is good.
What do we have about right now is okay, I think.
20. I think the amount of spells is completely fine right now.
I think that's why they're not adding too much new spells and abilities with hero talents. Maybe like a couple,
like, it's
right?
Weird. So like I've been learning Sub-Rogue, for example, right? I've been learning Sub-Rogue, for example, and you have a lot of random buttons that make you do more damage, right? Like you have Shadow Dance. Okay, cool. Shadow Dance allows you to have access to your stealth abilities. But then on top of Shadow Dance, you also use Thistletea. Right. But Thistletea isn't just for getting energy like it used to be.
Rotation, offensive, defensive, CC, and just break it down that way.
Every time you use Dance, you want to use Thistletea because you need the mastery. And then in addition to Dance, in addition to Thistletea, you also want to be using your Symbols of Death. So now you have Dance, and you have Thistletea, and you have Symbols of Death.
Slap that in a macro, huh?
And then you also want to be making sure that like you use your unused trinket, and it's just weird because you end up just making a macro and not really caring about it that much, right? Like you need separate keybinds for it, but for the most part, like during your burst moments, you're just going to be using them all at the same time. And then Shadow Blades is another one. It's just like I don't feel like things like Symbols of Death and Thistletea are necessary. Like I don't know if they actually make the rotation feel better or anything like that.
I can see that argument. There's not that many things like that with Warrior,
like,
though.
When you have things like
Rogue may be
have things like
unnecessarily
of Death,
complicated.
That spike your damage so much.
Feel
that's
complicated.
Why Subtlety Rogue's consistent damage is so bad.
I just play a lot of Warrior, so
when you have all the modifiers, your damage spikes so much. And for me, it doesn't like learning Sub-Rogue. I actually don't feel like I am having any more fun because of those abilities. It just is a macro I forget about and just like kind of makes damage weird.
This can be done without affecting PvE by just disabling some spells in PvP but allowing them to still be used in PvE. Then there's the problem with
Sharpened Blade is something that can be used skillfully. I don't think you just want to macro that.
For starting players to learn,
but you definitely can macro certain things.
They sometimes won't even know when an enemy is using CDs because they don't have.
But Sharpened can be used kind of like a newbie, and it's fine. But it can be used really well, and it's very strong.
To me that to be able to play PvP efficiently, you need a large number of third-party add-ons and different weak auras.
Right.
You hear add-ons, he's Bartender, big debuffs, details, Gladius, Omnibar,
you don't need Bartender anymore. Details, you don't need Bartender anymore. I like Bartender, but big debuffs is helpful. Details is very good, just for damage tracking. Gladius or something like it is important. Omnibar is helpful. I wouldn't say it's necessary, but it is helpful. Omni CD is not necessary, but it is helpful, especially when you're not communicating with your teammates. Quartz is nice to be able to move that's just moving bars around, just an add-on that just moves stuff around a little bit. I love threat plates personally. I think it looks good. And then weak auras, weak auras are very helpful too. So those are all good stuff.
Threat plates, weak auras.
Definitely.
Yes, 13 for PvP.
I use Quartz on Classic. Not now so much, I don't think. Thank you, Weave. Big flex of the Prime, man. Thank you, dude.
With no add-ons, and it feels kind of good.
It does feel kind of good.
I think there's so many like low-hanging fruit things that they could add to the UI to make it better. Like, for example, like the default arena frames could have DR trackers on them. They should make it a little bit easier to track your own procs and stuff like that, but it feels like the game could be playable.
Yeah, for sure.
Without add-ons.
It could be.
Rid of combat.
It's just an add-ons arms race, right? Like if your opponents are receiving all this information about cooldown tracking, you're going to want to do that too, right? If the opponents are being made aware of offensive cooldown usage without really having to pay as much attention, then you want to be as well. But no, I think that they're doing something like a slow and certain debuffs are going to be like way more easy to see or things like that. No, there's definitely room for improvement there in PvP to make these sorts of things more easy to see. And what's neat is that over the time, I don't know how long you guys have been playing WoW, but over time they have taken add-ons that are really popular and they have incorporated it into the UI basically. So we may see that over time.
Add-ons, but not before fixing the visual effects.
Yeah, add-ons are very helpful
to the player.
But it's also cool because add-ons let you customize the appearance, right? So
there is a reason why weak auras and add-ons are required at the moment.
Kind of cool.
It's because tracking all this information is near impossible without them.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about CC. I got surprisingly many answers saying that people don't want to
What
play
were we talking about
PvP
CC
because they
recently?
feel like there's too much CC.
Yeah, that's right. We were talking about this recently with the context of players don't like CC, and then we were reading that post where it's like, oh, it's just a Mythic Plus, and you're just doing damage, and there's not really a big focus on like chaining CC anymore. And it's because people don't like to be CC'd, so they're trying to find some middle ground of like, you can play your character and still be a little bit disruptive, but you're not spending an hour and a half in a sheep. I mean, but you still do against mages, but that's different, right? It's just like the play style is actually a result of feedback from players, but it's not always only just the tip-top players, like the casual players who are like, I just want to play the game. And so we see this, and then people are like, oh, you know, everybody's just running at each other doing damage. There's no elegance or whatever. And it's like, it's actually a result of feedback they've received, so.
And it feels frustrating not being able to control your character.
Okay.
Some people wanted CC completely removed from PvP, and
That's crazy.
some hoped for CC durations to be lower.
And they did nerf CC durations.
And I understand where
They
these
did.
people
They reduced
are
the durations
coming
of CC
from,
and
since
PvP.
In PvE content, you
They did.
rarely get any crowd control unless you fail some gameplay mechanic, and
Bonk.
more PvE-focused players are used to seeing CC as a punishment for failure. And I admit
PvP is
there
it's just sort of
are a
gonna
lot
happen,
more crowd control
guess.
spells available to different classes now than before due to the talent tree revamp in Dragonflight, but CC is, however, in my opinion, a very important core aspect of WoW PvP.
Yeah, I think so too.
It is.
From the beginning.
It is.
It's just like, I mean, even when you just look at Mage, like,
Mage players love their CC.
yeah, just comparing like just a bunch of like really annoying little things, you know, like I'll just use Mage as an example, like things like Ice Nova and Supernova. And I like Blast Wave, but Blast Wave is kind of obnoxious. Like Ice Nova, Supernova, Blast Wave, like little random Frostbite procs, and you know, every mage getting DB that gets lowered. Like there's just a
Holy
bunch,
moly,
it's just a
DB
lot,
and
you know?
Pato is nuts.
So it's like they did technically lower the duration of a lot of crowd controls, like Polymorph and
They did.
Fear and
They did.
Blind or whatever, but it still feels like there's just a bunch of like these little extra buttons that aren't necessary, you know, like
There's ways to outplay
Do
certain
Demon Hunters
CCs, and those feel
really
good,
need
but you're going to be
sigil
CC'd
victory?
sometimes because the other
Do
team
Demon
gets to
Hunters
play the game
really
too, right? They get to do
need
stuff
be
to
able
you,
stun a target,
right?
and imprison them and fear them. Is that necessary? I don't really know. Probably not, but I just feel like probably every class has a few too many.
Combat, and removing
Gotcha.
it would basically
Do rogues need gouge? Yeah, that's another one, right? Like gouge is
Warriors have
Rogues
two
need
different types of
gouge. It
stuns.
feels nice to
One
press,
ranged,
but
one
it's
melee
kinda
AoE.
OP.
Fear.
just turn PvP
And I guess
into PvE
tiny little roots sometimes
and
slows.
make PvP less strategic.
Warriors, mwah, perfect, right?
I think this problem with CC again comes down to the complexity of PvP.
Perfectly balanced
and
class.
people not understanding how
sometimes
CC works in
You
PvP.
feel far behind.
A lot of CC can be dispelled and avoided with different abilities depending on which class and spec you play.
This guy's kind of owning on
After
priest.
reading
He's
many
popping
of the
off.
answers I got, I realized that not a lot of people know how to play around CC.
That's the main
Take for
thing. One of the main things is not a lot of people know how to play. Not play around CC. Not a lot of people know how to play, and like you just gotta not be like tilted by being new, you know, and by learning. But there is a lot to learn, and sometimes it doesn't really feel like how to learn is not always clear necessarily. But there's so many like streams and YouTube videos, and I think one of the best things that actually helps me learn that I haven't been doing recently is doing commentary over my own gameplay, which is good content. I just haven't been taking the time to do it. But doing that actually is like explaining what I'm doing, explaining what the enemy team is doing, and like working through it is actually really helpful for me too. So. But yeah, players might not know how to like
Example,
learn, right?
a shadow priest
that was so
getting
close.
polymorphed by a
game.
mage. The poly can be avoided by LOSing the cast, silencing the mage, or using other CC to interrupt the cast. You can use Greater Fade to immune the polymorph. You can use Shadow Word Death to inflict self-damage to instantly remove the poly.
Right, people don't know this stuff,
If you
right?
play a Night Elf, you can Shadow.
Yeah, but that's hard. All those things are annoying to do. LOS and Death and Fade, like.
Yeah, but those little things make a big difference. That
And
separates
there
you.
Are, of course,
how hard
teammates
you
who can
sweat,
help
you know,
with
it
CC.
separates you.
But this becomes very problematic in low-rated games where people don't know how to help teammates and avoid CC, and getting dispelled happens much more rarely. In patch 10.1, many crowd control durations were already reduced to help with this situation, and I don't think that they can be reduced much more without completely breaking the whole balance.
Is that when healers got their trinket cooldown reduced too?
I kind of agree. Like, I feel like there's a few that are a bit too much, but the overall durations of CC, I don't think they could be lowered anymore. Except Cyclone, maybe.
If you reduce CC,
5-second Cyclone, anybody?
To balance it out, and if you nerf healing, you have to nerf damage as well.
Yeah.
I don't think CC should be reduced much more, but maybe some crowd control effects could have more.
DJ Stun's sweating for the CC.
The most annoying CC chains, but like I said, PvP balance is a very delicate thing, and if I were to choose,
the trinket
I
change
touch
garbage.
the current CC meta.
Okay.
But hey, maybe I'm wrong about this. Tell me what you think.
We can play
about
after
it
this if you
down
want, man.
in the
That'd be awesome.
comments.
I like CC. I feel like CC is what makes the game good. Maybe too much micro CC. Maybe it's harder to avoid CC.
Hey, Doosley, thanks, man.
Like,
Big flex for you. Pumping us up, bro.
And then we've been playing Kata, right? We've been playing Kata, and I can't believe how much CC you have on Kata. You have more CC on Kata.
Yeah, you actually
When I play Kata Frostmage, it's insane.
It
I
is.
Pet Nova Healer and silence him into an instant Ring of Frost.
Yeah.
So he just starts the game, 4
Warrior
seconds
doesn't really have
silence,
that much
8-second
CC,
ringed.
We have silences.
You know what I mean? I could poly him
crazy.
again for
Thanks for the
another
Prime,
4
man.
seconds, again
Welcome.
for another 2 seconds. My priest runs up and fears him for 8 seconds. He gets Dragon's Breath. Like, it's crazy.
And damage is really fast
Kata
there
has
too.
even more. Or like Hunters. Hunters running in and monkey blinding into a scatter, into a trap. None of them share DR. So it's like CC has been a thing in WoW for a really long time. So I'm not exactly sure why like the retail CC to some people feels worse.
It's because they're noobs. They're just
yeah.
And I don't mean that in a mean way. They just don't play the game. You know?
The next topic I want to cover
that
is
is not
the
experience.
feeling of unfairness in PvP.
Annoying to get hit with CC, but
Many
it's
of the
part of the game.
responses I got complained about the problem with pre-mates in casual PvP, the MMR system, and PvP gear.
Interesting.
So let's talk a little
we talked about
about
this a
these
lot
issues
in
and
the other
think of
React
ways
video.
to help with these problems. Okay, let's start with pre-mates. A lot of people
Playing
said
with
that
your friends
they
at
prefer
MMO.
to do more casual PvP instead
I love doing
of
viewer
rated
BGs.
by playing random BGs. But the problem is that surprisingly often you are matched against a coordinated full pre-made group with BIS gear, most likely in Discord, and in addition to this,
That's his cue, not
abusing
mine.
many of the consumable items, toys, etc.
I hate the consumable items, man.
You don't like saltwater
It's so
potions?
interesting because the consumable items to me
They're
are like
fun.
one of those things that's supposed to be fun, but I just hate how some people use them and some people don't.
I think that casual BGs are supposed to just be
they
goofy,
are
OP.
But then if you don't
stuff,
use them,
right?
like I don't really know what I'm
That's the
saying
place
right
for
now.
it.
But basically,
Just
what I'm
goof
saying
around.
is the fact that they exist makes me feel like I need to use them, and if I'm not using them, I'm getting screwed by somebody that is. So there's like this obligation to use these OP consumables. You know,
It's just like a goofy PvP environment. You know, I think that's fun.
In rated BGs. Every time this happens, it feels very frustrating and unfair since a group made up of randoms with bad coordination has almost no chance of winning against a pre-made, and almost every time you just get farmed and people
that's
are
us.
forced to leave or AFK.
The Alliance
for the rest
have
of the
almost no
match.
chance of winning unless
I
you have a
too have
pre-made
come
though.
across
We
this
gotta
very
drag them
often.
across the finish line.
Imagine you're just cute.
Oh my
Imagine
gosh.
you're just queuing random
Static,
battlegrounds
man, thank
by
you, dude.
yourself,
Big flex
trying to
for
gear
you.
up, you're in
69
greens,
months,
and on
man.
the other team is just Bajheera. Full raid consumables, full BIS.
I'm getting called out, dude.
4 healers chain dispelling him and giving him freedom. And he just one-shotting your whole team. He's immune to death.
I'm getting
Nobody
called
can
out,
die.
bro.
Like,
Oh my gosh.
oh my god, what a brutal experience.
Random BGs.
I love it.
And to be honest, I'm not
I love it.
absolutely
We'll see you in the
sure how
next
they're
Fury
doing it.
PvP video.
As far as
Oh my
I know, you
gosh.
can only
I'm
queue
getting
up for
called
random
out,
BGs
dude.
with a group of 5
Oh
or
my
less.
gosh, it's true.
But
It's true.
From what I've heard,
I do.
there
I'm a
are
warrior, man.
large
That's what brought me to
PvP
WoW
communities
initially,
that
man.
Queue for random BGs
All those
as
warrior PvP
many
videos, man.
5-man groups at the same time.
So
and
fun.
They only accept the BG pop-up if the group
That
gets
is
them
so
at
fun.
the same time. And this way they kind of go around the 5-man group limit.
That,
and
yeah.
to be honest with you,
That's a
I'm
little
not
cringe.
sure how this can be fixed.
Like the 40-man AV pre-made stuff? Oh my gosh.
Group size to 2 or 3.
That's a little cringe, but
then the pre-mates would just queue in smaller groups, and it would only make it harder for some players to play random
BGs with the boys is fun though, man.
Then I thought about changing the matchmaking to where pre-made groups would
the solo BG Blitz thing will be good for with MMR.
That's a good solution.
That might just make the BG queues much longer.
Way longer, yeah.
Force people who play in small groups to possibly have to play against full pre-mates much more often. One thing that might make this happen less often is to make random BGs cross-faction too.
That'd be cool.
This way, the pre-mates queuing as small groups wouldn't necessarily
that'd be
on the
good.
same side.
That's how it is in Kata.
That'd
be good.
Wait, random BGs are not. What is
we'll see, Zolder. We'll see.
Shit, guys. Like, I'm sorry to say it. I feel like we need to just rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
With the faction stuff. Like,
it's time.
I don't know why there's these random restrictions on faction stuff. Just rip the Band-Aid off. No more like have your factions, but they should be irrelevant within the game. In my personal opinion.
Make sure I get
this video a thumbs up. It just seems so random. It's like I'm in my stream and I'm like, hey guys, like, does anyone want to do the world PvP quest with me? I'm gonna sign up in LFG. This guy goes, yeah, I'd love to come, Ven. Oh, I can't see you. Oh, dang. You're
for me, it's like, oh yeah, I'd love to.
Guess we can't play together.
I'm on
like,
Horde
why?
and EU.
Why does that exist?
Okay.
That does not need to exist anymore.
Can't help you there, bro.
It doesn't need to exist.
I agree. It doesn't need to exist.
And
not anymore.
Have to fight each other. Maybe this would discourage people from trying to queue as large pre-mates.
Someone says, wait, why is it random? It's been lore since the game came out. Yeah, but the lore has changed.
I know. We've been doing this for a long time. It's like I was saying with racials.
And they've already made it accessible
we should have taught each other how to do everything.
It just doesn't feel like the remaining
be a human with escape artist and call it good.
Limited and faction restricted makes any sense in the game. It makes no sense at all.
True.
Rated BGs are already cross-faction, so why not make random BGs?
I think solo RBGs will probably kill the RBG bracket, but it'll be really good for casuals.
But I hope
we just want to queue up.
Does something to get rid of this.
There'll still be imbalance, like, oh, they have
think of a
better team or something, but MMR will help.
Okay, let's talk MMR, which means matchmaking.
Rating.
Have you seen teammates or enemies?
He's doing one right now, actually.
Gladiator mounts from recent and current seasons, because
I
sure have, and so have many of the people answering to my questions.
Yeah, gladiators like to do PvP.
A lot of people said that it feels unfair that even in low CR games, you are match-made with people that have a way higher skill in the game mode, and usually they dominate the lobby because of their deep knowledge of the game compared to the typical player at that low CR.
Yeah, but don't you want to fight players and learn from them?
Specific, and even if you are a rank 1 player in arenas.
Sometimes I'll complain, like, if I'm like leveling an alt and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're already 2K, like I want easy games, you know? But for real though, like if you're fully geared trying to get better in PvP and you're 1800 fighting gladiators, like you're at the MMR that person is at too, you know, like you got this. You might lose the game, but like learn from it, you know? Like don't be like, oh man, I lost. I should have won. This game is bugged because they're putting me a bit against good players and I don't want to be like, you're just sort of like expecting to win rather than like trying to get better. You know what I mean? And you're just like entitled to win for what, right? And I completely understand wanting easy games to gear up or whatever, but it's like, or easy games just because it's fun to just like, you know, get in there and just dunk and not have to try that hard sometimes. You just want to play a video game. But like, if you're trying to do rated PvP and trying to get better, take the opportunity to fight good players. And if you fight them frequently, even better, because you get to learn more about them as time goes on. I mean, but also give yourself a little credit. You're fighting at the same MMR as they are. Like, you got this.
Your alt character will still go through the regular MMR ladder. It is a much more enjoyable experience for all players to play against and with other players of equal skill level.
That's not true.
Well, and if the skill gap is so large in that case, it's really difficult to learn. Well, then you're not going to be fighting those if the skill gap is really that different, then you're not going to be fighting them that long, right? Because they're either going to go way past you, or you're like a little maybe higher than you should be, and you're going to go down. And that's not like my MMR went down. Oh, it's like, oh well, like I'm not ready for that. I got to keep getting better, right? But give yourself some credit. If you're fighting glads,
that's not true.
You're fighting glads.
If you're really high rated, it's more fun to just own noobs, and that's why everybody does it. Why do you guys think that Peekaboo made a brand new character on every single class in the game? He already had every class in the entire game, and he made a new one so he could start at low MMR on all of them.
Oh my goodness.
Like, why do you think Zaryu, when he's playing retail, tanks to 1200 rating and does 1v2s? You know? People like smurfing, not just in WoW.
I'm just a BG enjoyer. All right?
It's not more fun.
Unrated content, just having fun.
If you're really good at the game or at a game, it's not fun to always have to sweat. Sometimes you just want to win for free, which is bullshit. Don't get me wrong. I think it's bullshit. I hate it too. I'm just saying it is what it is, okay? And there probably is stuff that they can do about it, but it's not, yeah.
Wow, PvP press intentional learning to learn, yeah.
And I think this could be achieved
some of the cool things about it, but yeah.
The MMR system a bit in a way where it would take into account your maximum arena rating of the current season on any of your characters.
It's not just mechanical skill like a shooter game, yeah.
For example, I don't know what he's gonna say, but like, they could make it so like, let's say on my mage I hit elite. Okay, let's say I hit elite. I got the achievement for elite.
So this water
maybe my MMR actually is just boosted. Like the MMR of every character on my account is just boosted to like 2K. And I just can no longer play at less than 2K on my characters. Something like that. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, but I think that's abusable too, though. That can be done with this.
But yeah, maybe.
Well, if your main character's current rating is 2.5K and your alt's MMR is around 1.6K, it could increase the MMR of the alt to around 1.9K.
Oh yeah, so he's saying what I'm saying.
This would also help more experienced players to get their alts more quickly to an MMR matching their skill level.
Only problem is how annoying would that be for not only you, but the people that you're playing with to have a shit geared alt at high MMR, right? Like there was one game that I played where this guy probably didn't play any games all season, but came back and his MMR was still pretty high. And he was in full greens, went 0-6, couldn't win a game. Like, played well, impossible to win. Just can't win because you have no gear, you can't heal, you just lose, right? And that's annoying for everybody, right? So templates would be nice. Yeah, I'm not a big template enjoyer because I like to at least mess with my stats, and I didn't really love Legion. I think a lot of people would, but I actually didn't love Legion because you couldn't even change your stats around. You couldn't be like, I'm gonna try a heavier mastery. I'm gonna see about less verse and more haste or more verse. Just give up some stats here to mess around with this other thing there. All you could do is improve your eye level, right? And it would just sort of fill in the stats, but yeah.
And get to learn their
even with templates, like
higher skill
if you had no eye level, you're still gonna get shit on.
Okay, the final thing that makes the PvP playing field uneven and increases the feeling of unfairness in PvP is the PvP
I also like the progression
system.
Which we're talking about here.
Stated that the fact that they are at a disadvantage whenever they want to get into PvP because of the gear difference just disincentivizes trying out PvP.
Not for long.
Yeah, I get that.
I personally think
you're going to be disadvantaged for like a week.
Unnecessary and just makes the PvP scene more inaccessible to people.
I don't know. It takes very little time to do honor, and if you're coming from PvE, you probably have some gear with eye level on it. It takes very little time to get honor gear, and it doesn't really take very long to cap every week, and there's catch up now with conquest, so it's like, and eventually they just uncap gear entirely, so I don't know. I'm not buying that so much.
Legion. So there is some truth to this. So I feel like it's worth mentioning right now that gearing is almost the easiest it's ever been. There's only been one other time it's easier than it is now.
Progression feels good. I think lack of progression feels bad.
I already have the feeling like I don't want to play certain alts because they're in green. The honor gear is awful. Like fighting somebody right now, if you're in full greens and they're in full purples with full gems and they have all their embellishments and stuff like that and they have their tier and you don't, it's actually wildly OP. So just a shout out to Peekaboo once again. That's probably one of the reasons why he made new characters is because it's not fun at all
to just dunk on people.
It's not fun at all to play against, you know, people with absolute full biss that are super high rated and you're in full greens. Like, you're just going to lose.
Right.
So,
he doesn't want to get dunked on.
I don't really know what they can do about that. Like, gearing is already pretty easy. The only thing I could think of to make it even easier is to literally just make it so honor gear is higher item level. So there's even less of a difference between honor gear and conquest gear, which... What do you guys think about that? Like, do you think that would be fine? Like, what if honor gear was, like, 5 item levels less instead of like the 13 or whatever?
I guess
like maybe honor gear should be even better.
I don't know.
I think people says it won't help.
I think people are still gonna complain.
I think it would help.
The difference, it would narrow the gap, but people would still whine because it's not actually gearing for most people. So like, that's holding them back.
There's a big difference between having full purples that are all custom.
They don't want it bad
mastery
enough,
versatility, you know, for like whatever an Asa rogue versus having like some crit and some haste and stuff.
Favorite streamer with Prime.
Yeah, don't forget. Thank you, Prime Justice Gaming. I do appreciate that. Yeah, the secondary stats is a big one too. But the only time gearing has been better, I think, is Legion. Now, Legion
I didn't love that.
is a controversial one because a lot of people say
I didn't love that.
It's an MMO. I like getting gear. I like doing my gear.
I do.
I get that.
I like feeling stronger. I like my character progressing. And I feel like a game like WoW where it has like this character permanence, like I think to some extent, if someone doesn't put in the work on their character and you do, you should be stronger than them. Just how it is.
More honor gear is the answer. Like maybe there should just be fully customizable honor gear. That would like what if they made it so there was more honor gear and honor gear was 100% customizable to any secondary stats you want. There was a crit, a mastery, and a haste version of everything. And you could just get whatever stats you felt like getting.
I mean, you could try it.
I think that would be sick. I don't know why not. I think that would be a good solution, I think.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
For gearing.
I don't think it's going to make people who don't want to play PvP play PvP, but maybe if it helps a couple people, sure. Send
like
it.
I said in my earlier video, I think that PvP
whatever gets people excited to
should
PvP
be completely removed, and gear shouldn't matter at all in PvP.
Yeah, I think that's
whenever doing PvP content.
I don't think
should
he just clicked this World of Forsaken
main stats, and
I don't think
a set
that's
amount of secondary stat points.
This is what you're talking about, Dan?
This
is like what they do in Lost Ark, kind of.
However they like.
Is that what you're talking about, Dan?
Saying like you would be able to choose your stats. So basically the same thing, except you just choose your stats the way you want on your gear. But I feel like if the gear was just completely customizable, it would be the same thing.
They did that in Lost Ark, kind of.
Lost Ark had this PvP stat system, and I always thought it was amazing. I honestly think removing PvP gearing completely would make many more players want to try PvP and make it so much more easy to find a spec and playstyle that fits you in PvP. In my opinion, this change would be very good to the game, but I'm curious what people think of this. Please let me know down in the comments what do you think about this. And
I find that to be less interesting personally, but if they now the thing is, like, I don't think it's something they necessarily shouldn't do. It's just less interesting to me. And even if it works the same way, like my brain still likes the immersion of like farming conquest, using my resources to make a custom piece of gear that has the stats that I want. Like, I think that's cool because not everybody's going to do that, and that gives me like a teeny tiny little advantage because I'm willing to do the work. And like that feels cool to me, but if it makes the game better, more people play,
good or a bad change.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, next we'll talk about PvP rewards and incentivizing gameplay.
Rewards. This is what fixes everything.
That incentivizes players to participate PvP more.
Just make the rewards good.
Important for
then it's like,
the current PvP
all right,
player base,
the rewards are good, the game is fun,
more
everything
players
is
to try
fixed.
PvP.
You know.
A lot of people that responded to my questions said that they don't do PvP because it feels unrewarding. Yeah. The most brought up
fun and rewarding
regarding PvP rewards were the honor level rewards, and the fact that if you don't win in PvP, you get almost no rewards. And
winning also
no
saves
you can casually progress towards that aren't tied to rating or winning.
Yeah,
I think these are very good points, and
I agree.
Hope PvP rewards get a big revamp.
Me too.
They're giving mounts for solo shuffle and stuff, right?
I don't think they will, but I think they should. I think we need like seasonal battle passes.
Cool.
I know people don't like battle passes from other games, but some sort of like seasonal.
It's because if you just don't pay for it, right?
There's like seasonal gear.
Just get everything just because you
rating, people just playing. You know,
don't like pay to boost the premium battle pass
that are attached to certain ratings. But I feel like
this season's Glad mounts are very cool. Or I like the red one better, but like this expansion's Glad mounts.
They did with Plunder.
Cool. I don't like the snaky ones.
Yeah, I think it would be great.
With honor level rewards. Here's how the current honor level reward
Give
system
PvEers
works.
something powerful in PvE that they can get from PvP and watch what happens.
Just titles
Every time that's the case, PvP is
it's just
bumping.
recolored mounts, like dude,
bumping. So good.
So level 15 honor, like this is so actually kind of goofy. Okay, like
they don't like it, but it's so good.
Can I see my honor level, by the way?
Yeah, it's like a bat, right? Garbage. I don't think I like that mount either. Maybe they'll change it.
I don't even know.
It's like a bat.
Gotta be
not really feeling the bat either, personally.
My honor level is 1357. Okay.
Dang, Vin.
So this means that I have not gotten a single reward in the last 857 honor levels. The last 857 honor levels, I haven't gotten a single reward. I haven't gotten anything. And when you look at these honor rewards,
crazy.
Okay. You get a prestigious mount. You get a recolor. You get okay. So when you go from 5 to 500, you get a mount, the same mount, the same mount again, the same mount again, the same mount again, the same mount again.
So you should at least get like a box of gold
you
or
get
something.
the same mount 7 times recolored. That's pretty crazy.
Like a box of consumables,
and
like good consumables
there's
or
nothing
something.
after
You know?
500. They just
can sell
forgot to
them or
update
something?
it. It makes no sense.
They didn't think anybody's gonna be going
At
at
the
him.
very least, this would be something that resets every expansion.
Yeah.
Right? I think it would be better if it was every season, but every expansion, at the very least, it should reset. How have I not gotten a reward in 800 honor levels? That seems so cooked.
Yeah, juice up those
Colors
rewards,
of
man.
the same mount.
Juice them up, juice them up.
Nothing too exciting in my opinion,
Pump 'em
except
up.
for the honor level 500 mount.
Different transmog and
There's
stuff.
The fact that when your
Like different
honor level
colored
gets
enchants
higher,
for your
you start
weapons
to
and
get
stuff like that, you know?
rewards
That'd be
much
cool,
less
wouldn't it?
often,
Just
even
little
though
things
you're
like
doing
that.
the same amount of grinding. For example, going from honor level 1 to 250 gives you 6 mounts, 5 titles, artifact appearances, and some other rewards, but what does going from 250 to 500 give you?
Not
One
much.
title, one pet, and
Need the
one
same
mount.
renown track per
And then
season, like
after
Thunderstorm.
honor level
Exactly.
500, you just
Exactly.
stop getting
Yeah.
any rewards at all.
That's a great example.
I think
Yeah, that's
Blizzard
cooked.
should add more
a great
rewards
idea.
to the honor level system, especially
Definitely.
towards the higher honor levels to
It
get
should be seasonal. I swear, it needs to be seasonal.
Yeah.
more evenly spaced out rewards.
The
It
Plunderstorm
would
example
also
is
be nice
perfect.
to get some more unique rewards, maybe add some transmog sets in there. And
I've seen
some
people
mods
asking me
that
to add chat
aren't
to this. I'll
recolors
try to do
of
that
the same
eventually.
Prestigious hordes. I also think that the honor level rewards should continue after level 500 so that people who
True.
have played PvP for years can also expect
And give
some
healers
rewards
in
from it.
particular
that'd be nice.
special rewards for doing shuffle.
The honor level reward system is also a great way for casual players to have a feeling of progress when participating in PvP content because
Yup.
it isn't directly tied to winning or rating, and you can farm honor in many different ways without having to focus on a
Yep.
one single type of
You can also
PvP.
farm conquest, just doing world
let's move
PvP
on
stuff
to
basically.
Other rewards you get
Thunderstorm
from
is fun.
PvP. A lot of people that answered to my questions said that the only reason they do rated PvP is to get the elite transmog set when it looks cool for their class.
Great.
Someone said you're number 289 of all accounts in the game for honor level, for what it's worth. I play a lot of WoW. I've played a lot of WoW. I understand that, but
Farming.
still, I haven't got a reward from honor level in years. In expansions, I think.
Yeah.
To get the full elite set, you need to reach
Elite set
1.8k rating.
is a
and
great example.
Some people really wanted to get the
1.8
transmog sets,
is
but weren't able to reach the required
Pretty
rating.
achievable.
Some people found this frustrating because they felt as if they wasted a lot of time without getting any rewards for it.
He's so
I think
sweaty.
prestigious PvP rewards
it happens,
for
bro.
reaching
Like, you
high
gotta-
PvP ratings is, in my opinion, very important, and I don't think that they should be made more easy.
Yeah,
to
I mean, you
obtain,
gotta
but
do the
I
thing to
also
get the stuff.
understand
I
that
mean,
it can be frustrating not to be able to.
it
get
sucks
them.
to not get
Yeah.
what you
Since cosmetic
want,
rewards
especially if you work
are
hard.
a really good way to incentivize
But
people to play PvP. I
that's-
think Blizzard should add a seasonal
part of the deal,
battle
I guess,
pass
right?
type of system where you can progress towards cosmetic rewards by just
I think we're all
participating in PvP.
in a similar place
And
with this
don't
battle
get me
pass
wrong,
idea, huh?
I don't want another pay-to-win battle pass system, but something like the renown system in Plunderstorm, where you progress.
No, he mentioned both of that. That's nice. This guy's
There we
finished.
go.
He sounds finished. This guy's cool.
There
I
we
like him
go.
so
On
far.
the bulk, keep it
I
up, man.
actually wouldn't mind a battle pass, but you shouldn't have to pay for it. You should just
No,
get the battle
no
pass.
payment, no, just that.
You know, every season there's just a battle pass.
Just a renowned
something like
track.
that. But I think this is the same thing, basically. Same idea.
By just playing the game.
Yep.
This way you could get cool transmogs and other cosmetic items by
Yup.
just playing and not having to reach a specific rating.
Yeah, that's good.
I think that
Yep.
with these changes we could make PvP gameplay much more appealing to a wider audience of players and attract
You
more
gotta
people to
bring
the
in the
PvP
This
scene.
is a great
casuals.
video.
The final
Most
thing
people
we're
who
gonna
play
talk about in
any
this
games are
video is
casuals.
the inaccessibility of PvP content. For
Okay.
years now, it's been quite hard to get into rated PvP groups in LFG if you
Okay.
don't have prior
Yup.
experience in rated PvP content. Previously, to be able to play rated PvP, you had to find a pre-made group through LFG, and more often than not,
we
players
got
would
these solo
actually spend
shuffles,
more
solo
time
queues.
looking for a group to play with than actually playing the game.
Yep.
This, however, changed a bit after Blizzard added the solo shuffle option for rated arenas.
Oh, the solo
This
RBGs
new
too.
option
They're
allows
coming.
you
They're
to
coming.
just queue up for the arena by yourself,
be good
and
too.
the LFG tool will find teammates and opponents for you. And it seems that a solo queue option
long
for rated
queues.
PGs will also
Long
be
queues.
added in the War Within expansion in the form of Battleground Blitz.
Yep.
These solo queue forms of rated PvP do increase the accessibility of
This'll
rated
be cool.
PvP content.
I think it could
but
kill the
they're
low
still not
RBG bracket,
perfect.
which means
Okay.
they'll kill the
Solo
RBG
shuffle
bracket in
has
general,
been
but we'll see.
usually successful and is
This'll
at
be
the
cool.
moment, in my understanding,
Especially
because
you can duo queue. Find a healer and you get insta pops.
But the amount of time you
So
have
nice.
to spend waiting to be able to play
So
solo
nice.
shuffle, however, has not changed much. The lack of healers in solo shuffle means
give
that
healers
as a DPS player,
their own
you might
little
have to
reward
wait
track.
hours for a single solo shuffle game, and there are a couple of reasons why there aren't a lot of healers queuing up for solo shuffle. First of all, many players just prefer playing DPS because, well, you get to kill other players and deal damage.
Okay.
Secondly, healing
pump.
in arenas or PvP in general is
Gotta be the hardest thing to do in
more
WoW.
stressful and hard than playing as a DPS, and I personally agree with this, even though I do main a healer. Then there is the healer tie problem, which I've seen a lot of people complain about.
Yeah.
Often in solo shuffle lobbies, there is one player that is weaker than the others and gets killed every round. The outcome of this match is that all the other DPS gain rating because they only lasted 2 rounds, but healers will always tie in this situation.
It's rough.
When this happens, it feels very frustrating to
I
the
mean,
healers.
Yeah, I thought about this a lot. I don't know if
But it's this. Isn't it the same thing as when one of the healers sucks and they lose every round too? I mean, like you gotta. In those situations, as DPS, it's like I gotta be the one. I gotta be the one to get this guy his one win, so I can go positive in this lobby. It's like the same thing with the healer. It's like the healer's like, okay, I got 2 chances. I got 2 chances to try to drag this guy across the finish line, and if I can't do it, I'm not getting any points. And that's just, I mean, that makes sense. Now, if you go 3-3 and lose MMR though, that's definitely annoying.
this is that big of a problem. I think the only time. Okay, so this is what I think.
Every
I think
lobby is healer diff.
when it comes
most
to a
2400.
tie,
That kind of was what happened yesterday.
I'm okay if there was like not an MMR exchange between the healers. Even though there technically should be, I think the only reason 3-3s feel bad as a healer is because there's one person that's much higher MMR normally and one person that's much lower MMR. So if you just get into a lobby and you're lower MMR or you're higher MMR, you have so much more to lose in a tie situation, which kind of sucks. But I don't necessarily mind that you don't get a big payoff for 3-3. I mean, technically speaking, you as the healer is playing against the other healer.
You have 3
and
chances to
you
try to
couldn't
drag
make
this
a
guy
difference
across.
in the game more so than they could.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't deserve to go up in rating.
Yeah.
That, I play a lot of healer. That's how I feel.
That's how it is.
It's okay.
If I can't get a win with this guy one time, I mean,
there it is.
sucks, but dang, like that's what I had to do that round, right? Gotta make sure you beat him every time too.
Another thing that feels frustrating as a healer in solo shuffles is the fact that you're always playing a kind of 1v1 against.
But yeah, yesterday it was like I was able to get some of those rounds with the guy who was going to lose every game,
the teams, but
whether it was a DPS or healer, and so I got 4 wins out of it, you know.
This means that if the DPS players in the lobby are of equal skill, the better healer will almost always win 6 rounds, and the other will lose all 6. Because of this, the individual skill level of the healers have much more effect in the outcome of the match than the individual skill level of the DPS players.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we fix this situation?
I don't know if I agree with that last point. I think that's the only thing I don't necessarily agree with.
Ideal situation would be that people can just
skill is just
queue up
class
for
sometimes.
PvP and
Synergy,
within
yeah.
a few minutes they get to play. The only way to achieve this is to incentivize healing more.
We need that.
Is it true?
Definitely.
I don't think that it is true.
Need more
I don't
healing.
often find that healers go 6-0. Like the only time I see healers go 6-0 is normally if it's just a very good lobby. You know what I mean? Like yesterday, I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. Yesterday I played a lobby. It was a Pres Evoker versus a Resto Druid.
I got you, Dan, yeah.
And then it was 4 casters.
It's hard to win with a locker team if you're like a disc priest,
every single game was a Resto Druid with 2 casters versus a Pres Evoker with 2 casters. And in that lobby, basically the Pres Evoker just loses every time. As the Pres Evoker is susceptible to like mage crowd control, he has to be in the enemy face, he actually exposes himself, so like that wasn't even like a skill thing between the Druid or the Pres Evoker, it was just one of those matchups that's really, really
President
bad.
Casters is just rough, yeah.
There are already bonus rewards for healing in rated PvP, but in my opinion, they need to be increased.
Yeah, buff those healers in particular.
I believe the
Like
solution
the rewards for
is
healers
very
in particular.
simple here.
Okay.
The more rewarding healing is made, the more people will play healers.
Yep.
Maybe Blizzard should add
Like I was like,
rewards for
give him
healers
like a,
I agree.
like a
not
black
just
market
more
auction
conquest
house
and
box.
honor.
I agree.
After you win it, like
transmogs,
as part of your
healer
reward
mounts,
track, after you finish
whatever
it.
it is that
I
makes
agree.
people
Just
want
like
to
just
play.
do that.
I agree.
Some DPS
be
players
insane,
might think it's
but that's what you need,
unfair
right?
that healers get more rewards, and well, it
I don't
kinda
care,
is,
just
but
queue up. I
believe
just wanna
most
play the
people
game.
Would rather choose the faster queue times over equal rewards.
That's fine.
Okay,
Yeah, I want
that's
faster
pretty
queues.
much
Yeah.
all I had to say. I want to thank all the people who answered my questions, and of course you for watching this video.
Oh, stop.
You're
Let me
welcome.
know down in the comments
No
what
problem.
you think about these issues. And
Good job to you and
remember
Ven.
to
Stay away from the voodoo.
Will do. Will do. Good video, dude. Good video, Ven.
This guy's kind of a vibe, dude. I like it.
Yeah,
That
just
was a good video.
seriously, just like
So
give him like a
this
black
video is
market
by
chest.
Shields. Make sure
Yeah,
you guys
I think
go
that'd be
subscribe
worth.
to his
Just like
channel,
once you finish a
like the
reward path,
video,
just like have a
and,
a
check out
repeating
this
like
video.
like you know prestige
Leave a
reward.
comment.
Just farming black
Very, very
market
cool though.
auction house boxes.
Really, really nice
Be
video.
sick.
So if you guys want to check it out, you are more than welcome. I'll post it here in the chat.
All right, good stuff, Ven. Good
Yeah, I
stuff,
agree with
Shields.
almost everything he said. I
Good work,
there's
guys.
a lot of like low-hanging fruit that could be added
Yeah.
to make the game.
I like
more
that the end was a lot
accessible
of
and
like
people want to play the game more.
recommendations for how to improve. But yeah, that was really good stuff. Good job, Ven. Good job, guys. GG. But yeah, I
This
do.
is a-
I think a lot of what they talked about there was good. I think that the main thing, I've said this before, is that a lot of things that might hold people back from getting into PvP is just don't be afraid. There's nothing to lose. You're just playing a video game. It's fine. You're gonna maybe get beat up a little bit until you don't have gear. You're gonna maybe get beat up a little bit until you, you know, figure out what's going on. You might be pressured to get some add-ons, but once you start feeling like, ooh, I want to know what that information is. I want to know when these guys are popping cooldowns so I can respond to it better, then get the add-on, right? But in the beginning, just go play the game and just see what happens and just see kind of like, you know, allow yourself to be like, holy crap, I just got one shot, and what was that? And like make it your objective to like use all your offensive and defensive cooldowns, you know. Just play the game, immerse yourself. If you want to get into PvP, if you think it looks cool, do it. You'll love it. It's just a pretty in-depth form of gaming that, I mean, again, I've always said it's the best form of PvP in any game. People are like, no way, but everybody has their own preference. But I really do think that if you get into it pretty deep, it's so neat. It's so cool. And there's definitely like some cool ways to express your skill. You're going to hear people, you know, complaining about class balance and all this stuff, but that happens with every single game ever. It's just that WoW is one of those games that's been able to stand the test of time for a reason. And it's just going to take some commitment because there have been people like me and Ven who've been playing it for a long time. But there are also people who are pretty new to it who have picked it up and are kicking ass and doing awesome. So if you're thinking about playing it, do it. Don't let, you know, things hold you back, because especially now with Dragonflight probably going into War Within, it is going to be really easy to get into PvP. It's just a matter of there comes a time where you as a player are going to have to take the time to learn and improve. But if you're willing to do that process, I think you're going to have a lot of fun. But yeah, GG's, good video.